a bit shorter than everyone else. Okay. So as you've heard a lot of today, koalas are clearly in decline across southeast Queensland. And vehicle strikes are just one of the several human-related sources of mortality. And this is where my focus of research is, and our team. So this map shows that the koalas struck on southeast Queensland roads over a 20-year period from 1997. And clearly it just puts into perspective the absolute scale of the issue. Wildlife strike mitigation measures such as wildlife crossings definitely work, and they're fantastic, but they're very expensive and can't be put everywhere. So they absolutely can't tackle the scale of the issue that we are trying to deal with. So this is where signs come into the mix, because they're another tool, and in the past they've had a bit of a bad rap, but they are a lot cheaper and continue to be used regardless. And there is some research that's, mixed research about static signs from around the place. But dynamic sign technology is offering a new opportunity to revamp our wildlife warning signs. So our project was looking at evaluating 3 different of these dynamic signs, with the particular view of looking at whether they slow average vehicle speeds, and of course, looking at whether our koalas are being hit on these roads or not. So this is one of our signs. It's called the Genoptic Smiley sign. So sign A comprises of a radar that measures speed both before the vehicle passes the sign and as it passes the sign, and it displays information to drivers on an LED screen. So these ones are pretty standard. These are our Genoptic koala smiley signs. So the sign functionality is very similar to sign A, but it explicitly states that it's related to koalas, and that's the reason we want you to slow down, look at your speed, and be more aware of how you're driving. And that's regardless of the message that's displayed. These are our third sign, the ITS signs. So these are a bit more simple in their responsiveness. They simply have flashing warning lights that are triggered when a vehicle is detected travelling above a certain speed. So this is an example of the kinds of displays that signs A and B display along, for example, a 50-kilometre-hour road. Obviously, if it's 60 or 70 kilometres an hour, just add 10 kilometres an hour to those thresholds. And so it's very responsive, and it has that feedback to drivers as to what their speed is and what they should be doing. Whereas, so sign C simply has that single threshold speed where the lights are set off as flashing, and that's the only feedback that is given to drivers. So where are our signs? We've currently got 10 signs on 5 roads throughout the Redlands, and these signs face in both traffic directions. So we've currently got signs on Sturgeon Street, Starkey Street, Wellington Street in Ormiston, Fitzroy Street in Thornlands and Old Cleveland Road East in Birkdale. And we've got 5 new signs that are coming and going to be installed and displayed in other areas during the koala breeding season later this year. So that's exciting. So vehicle speed measurements were taken both before and vehicle speed measurements were taken while signs were covered initially, which is we call the pre-treatment period, and then also after signs were uncovered and displayed in the treatment period. So almost all signs recorded a drop in average vehicle speed during the treatment period compared to the pre-treatment period. And all signs recorded average vehicle speeds that were below the posted speed limit during the treatment period, which is fantastic. So 2 of the sign types, A and B, both showed the clearest set of results because they record 2 vehicle speeds. So one as it detects the vehicle and one as it passes the sign, and therefore a change in vehicle speed as well. So we've just got a few examples of the data from some of our signs, and I apologise for this not amazing photo. So this is our Wellington St South sign, and that's right across from Ormiston train station. So on these graphs that we're going to show, the blue line is what we call the V1 speed. So that's when the vehicle is first detected by the sign. And then V2 speed is the orange line, and that's when the vehicle passes the sign. And then you can see in there, there's a green dotted line, and that's the speed limit. So this graph shows average daily vehicle speeds during the pre-treatment period when the signs were covered and the treatment period when the signs were displayed. So you can note that during the pre-treatment period, there is a difference between the V1 and V2 speeds already, and this happens with quite a lot of our signs, and is likely because of pre-existing infrastructure and road conditions. For example, at this site being so close to the train station, we can have cars slowing down to turn into the train station car park, pulling over to park on the road or into driveways. So yeah, there is a bit of difference there even in the pre-treatment period, but that can't be helped. So here you can see there's a distinctive drop in both the V1, V2 speeds once the signs were displayed in the treatment period. And so this basically means that drivers were slowing down their speed before the sign even detected the vehicle, which is fantastic. And so once it detects the vehicle, it then displays the appropriate message in response to their speed. So the next example is Sturgeon Street East. And this sign is between 2 roundabouts near Redland Softball Association. So though there was no highly noticeable drop in traffic speed with this sign, you can see that vehicles were already travelling well below the posted speed limit here. And so the display that most drivers would be seeing is already the green koala smiley face. So it's not prompting them to slow down. They don't need to slow down further. And so that they get that smiley face along Sturgeon Street when vehicles are travelling below 55 kilometres an hour. So that's fantastic that, you know, people are already driving nice and slowly in certain parts. and this is a bit of a different situation. So this is Old Cleveland Road East, the sign at the western end, near Birkdale Recycling and Waste Centre. So you can see here that there's a slight uptick in the pre-treatment period in speed across the period, so which is usually indicative of a driver habituation. But it's a bit weird that this has happened in our pre-treatment period. So what we think might have happened here is that people have seen the covered sign and have slowed down initially, but then started ignoring it, which is good. And so the speeds have gradually gone up. But the good news is that the sign was displayed, speeds dropped dramatically, and so far we have seen no sign of driver habituation to our signs at all during the treatment periods in any of our sites to date. So yeah, it's great to see that people are still taking notice of them, even though some of them have been out there for quite a while now, without having a break. But that's all part of our study design, is looking at that driver habituation and seeing if we can avoid that happening. So, but our results, of course, weren't all perfect. The 85th percentile speeds for most signs were above the posted speed limit. So the 85th percentile speed is the speed at which 85% of vehicles are recorded at travelling at or below. And there were, of course, unfortunately, some extreme speeders with speeds occasionally being recorded above 100 kilometres an hour along these roads, which is a bit scary. So the issue of extreme speeding and speeding more generally is something that we're going to be looking into a bit more this year and in our future years. But generally, for the most part, drivers in Redlands are not speeding and are slowing down in response to our signs, which is a massive positive sign and step to help reduce that risk of vehicles to koalas and, of course, other wildlife, and something to be super proud of. Like, it's just amazing, some of these results. So it's great to see that these signs are being taken note of. And you all heard Sharon talk earlier, and her team have done some small surveys in relation to the signs as well, which has been fantastic. So Sharon and her team from social marketing at Griffith have been doing surveys before and after the signs are being installed, and they have noticed that the recall of the signs has increased over the years, which is fantastic. So we now, last year, so in 2020-2021, 67.3% of respondents to the surveys actually recalled seeing these signs. And the most common response, self-reported response of residents to the signs was that they actually slowed down, which is great. And best of all, to our knowledge, there have been no koalas that have actually been struck by any vehicles along our roads since the signs have been installed. But we are, of course, a bit cautious about making too much of this, but it's certainly an encouraging sign. So our caution comes from the fact that we don't necessarily know where koalas are all of the time and whether they're actually near where our signs are. So this is where Vermont and the team at University of Sunshine Coast come in, and they've been very generous in sharing some of their koala tracking data with us, which is amazing. And we're looking at reconciling this a bit more in our future research as well. So, for example, this is a map looking at one of their koalas, movements of one of their koalas named Blake around Fitzroy Street in Thornlands. So you can see here, it looks like he has crossed the road a couple of times. So the blue line connect locations from the 30th of April to the 3rd of May last year. And the red lines connect locations from the 3rd to the 7th of May last year. So from their GPS collared data. So you can see that Blake has crossed the road a few times, and a preliminary look at more recent data has actually seen Blake a bit more active in crossing roads since then too. So koalas definitely cross roads, as you saw Kaio point out to, lots of road crossings from some of the koalas that they're monitoring. So the need for us to slow down and be aware of koalas crossing roads is really important. And I stress that slowing down isn't just the solution, you need to be aware of them too. You need to be actively looking out for them. They're hard to see, and they're really hard to see at night on a road. So you need to be actively looking for them when you're driving in these areas. And other wildlife. So over the next few years, we're going to continue to look at driver habituation and preventing it wherever possible, and take a better look at excessive speeding and when this is more likely to occur. And hopefully looking into other complementary technologies, such as real-time driver alerts about koalas on and near roads that might also help reduce strike events. And of course, we will be collaborating with other researchers whenever we can. It's always great to work in collaboration with other people and find out as much as we can from all these different aspects. So it's been an absolute honour to work with the other researchers who are out there in Redlands as well, and it's fantastic. Thank you. And yeah, I'd like to, of course, thank everyone in the community for slowing down and becoming more aware of our koalas. It's wonderful to see the response to all of the hard work that everyone's put in. It's great. And of course, many other people who have been involved in our work. Thank you.